Thank you for joining me once again today. Welcome to Wigan Official. Today we'll be getting into the topic of why our righteous figures of history usually poor, and that's being poor financially. Now let's get into that just a little bit. For the what I'd like to get into is that one thing used to be a good thing is that you used to have righteous figures that are usually rich in character. They're usually rich mentally, physically, well, not physically, but spiritually, physically in a sense. But usually, financially, anything they have, they usually are locking up. However, in today's society, it requires each individual to have more, whether they have integrity or not. So we would like to get into that just a little bit briefly, rather. But let me get into an explanation here. So, righteous figures of history are often poor because of their focus and dedication are typically directed toward altruistic or noble cause rather than personal wealth accumulation. And that is understandable for past figures. So I looked into some of these things because these are some things to take into consideration whenever considering to have or be an individual of character or of good standing in today's society. It does requires one to have more mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. So these are some things that I wanted to go over, and it is something for you out there to consider as well. What it is to be of a righteous standing, whether it be in character, in spirit, mental, physical, emotionally. And so you don't want to have or make the same mistake as past figures. And why were they poor when your physical life requires more? Was it that you just decided not to have more? Or is it because of your environment or your circumstances? Or was it deemed that you shouldn't have these things? However, in today's society, we're not having that. So let's explain this. Prioritization of others. So this is one reason, prioritization of others. They prioritize the needs and well-being of others over personal financial gain, understandably so. Let's get into number 2. We will further explain these. Selflessness. Their actions are driven by principles of justice, equality, or compassion rather than material wealth. Understandable. Let's get into the rest of it. Sacrifice is the number 3. They may willingly sacrifice their personal comfort and financial success for the greater good or to uphold their values. Understandable. Let's get into the 4th. Resistance to corruption. Many righteous figures resist opportunities for personal enrichment if it conflicts with their moral principles. Now, this is a big one, and I can see that being a major one for a lot of righteous figures in past history being wanting to pass up. And a lot of these things, usually a lot of these things come tied in with corruption, especially when all of the enrichment is being governed or held by people that are not in good standing, whether it's people or organization. It may come in conflict with the character or good standing of the individual. Now let's get into the 5th. Historical context. In historical context, pursuing righteousness might have led to persecution, exile, or economic hardship contributing to their poverty. Now, this is truth. Now, what I am trying to do in this video is to understand why the reason as to why righteous figures of history or past times were such poor standings, not being able to provide for their surroundings or their people in which they say that they are standing for, or the cause that they are standing for. Now, there is no reason for anyone in today's society to have the desire to be poor. Righteousness has no tie to being poor. That is nothing that was told to any human being by God, unless it was some kind of corruption being intertwined in there. So each man is to be enriched with everything he so desires. In context that having a good standing, you can have it otherwise, but usually it comes with a lot of sacrificing of one's own integrity and morality. Now, in today's day, my desire and your desire should be rich and righteous. Let's go.